Hello, everybody. Come on in. Join us. We're about to get started. Hello, and welcome to Ask the Undertaker, an open, honest look at your funeral service brought to you by Golden Gate Funeral Home and Crematory, with facilities in Fort Worth, Texas, Dallas, Texas, and Tallulah, Louisiana. I'm your host, John Beckwith Jr., and I'm joined today by our Chief Marketing Officer, Sister Orlando Taylor.
Good morning, everyone.
All right, today we're talking about who has the right of final disposition. You all know this is one of my favorite out of the 7 things that we go over every week. So, Orlando, let's talk a little bit about who has this right of final disposition. Let's talk also a little bit about what is a right of final disposition. We know, Orlando, it's hard.
Yes, sir.
To have to deal with funeral services and all the business that comes with the losing of a loved one.
Absolutely, and this is one of our 7 things, and so I think this is for me, Mr. B. I think it's one of the most important. For the final disposition, because when we think about our families and our last wishes, and we talk about disagreements. Some may be wanting a cremation, some may be wanting a traditional burial. That's where this final disposition comes in. And again, this is one of our 7 things. And so that's why it's really important to talk about it often, because you may change your mind.
Might change your mind. So Melanda's saying, listen, who are you? Do you want to be buried? Do you want to be cremated? And who's going to get to make that decision for you? Right. But also the right of disposition pretty much tells us who's in charge of everything. That's going to happen at that funeral. What's going to where are we going to have a funeral?
Right.
What time we're going to have the funeral? Who's going to preach it? Who's going to sing at the funeral?
Right.
And a lot of people are probably saying, "Is that really an issue?" Yes. We have the SWAT team come to funeral.
Right.
We have constables show up at funerals. We have private security that shows up at funeral services because of family conflict. You say, wait a minute, that's just messy, that's just dysfunctional. Everybody don't have that. Well, I can always speak for the Beckwith family. We're not perfect.
We're not even Mr. B. No, sir, we're not.
Family perfect?
No, sir, none of us.
All these preachers and all these pastors and all these college-educated people are in the house, and you would think when someone passed away, we all just come together, and it's all kumbaya. That is just not the case. And I know in our case, my parents had 5 children. And they're all high-strung. Is that what we call it?
High-strung, very high opinionated as well.
Very opinionated, and they're all 5 is very smart.
Sure.
So they believe in most cases, like on their jobs and in their lives, they're in charge. But who's in charge when all 5 is at the table? And that's what we're talking about.
That's what we're talking about, because we know that all 5 children have different thought process.
There you go.
They have their opinions, and they may say, well, hey, Mom, I want you to do it this way. Or, hey, Mom, no, I don't want what John Jr. said. Let's do it this way. And that's why it's really important for the parents to sit down and have a discussion with their children verbally and say, this is what I want. But it's going to be that one child, Mr. B, that's actually probably going to carry it out. That's not going to give Mom and Dad no back talk, Mom.
So you're saying hold this conversation before Mom passes.
I would say so.
Hold this conversation before Dad passes.
Absolutely.
Because you're right. If all 5 of us are sitting there and Mom is there, we don't have an issue.
Absolutely.
If all 5 are sitting there and Dad is there, we don't have an issue because we know who's in charge.
Right, and there's a respect issue too, Mr. B. So, when they're talking, you don't talk, you listen, then they'll ask you, so what do y'all think?
And we do that if they're still alive.
Correct.
Now they're passed away. Now
chaos.
You're at the table not with your mom and dad as who's in charge. You're not at the table with a stranger, a funeral.
Right.
Now who's in charge?
And that's what we talk about, and that's why it's so important to have that final disposition. That final disposition, they can print off that form on our website. And I think that, like we always say, mama can speak from the grave.
Right.
So it'll kind of kill all of that chaos and confusion, because if all 5 of the Beckwith children are fighting amongst yourselves, well, no, you don't know, and okay, y'all don't worry about it. I got this under control.
So let's talk about it. What is a right of disposition?
Mm-hmm.
It's just a form that
Right.
mom needs to fill out, or dad needs to fill out,
Right.
or whoever is going to take care of the business for yourself
Right.
need to fill it out.
Correct.
Before you pass away,
Right.
there must be a form in place saying this one person
Right.
is in charge of my services. You get that form notarized, you get it dated, and you make sure that the person you put in charge have a copy of it.
Yes.
So when all 5 of us come together, we sit down, I disagree with Debbie, Carolyn, Michael, Charlotte,
Mm-hmm.
that form is gonna speak louder than anyone else.
Absolutely. And then there's no confusion as to who's in charge, because it's in writing. Does it have to be notarized?
I definitely would recommend that it's notarized. We said, well, does it have to be? If it's not, it gives me something to fight.
Okay.
I'll say that's not mama's signature.
Okay.
I'll say that's not dad's signature. If it's notarized, the notary is basically saying, I watched that, I witnessed that person's signature. And that's just basically what a notary is.
Because a young person, Mr. B, I'm the youngest on your
Okay.
panel,
Okay.
after 15 years of Ask the Undertaker. And so if I'm speaking to someone that's a little younger than me, they may say, well, hey, Mara, I don't have time to fill out a piece of paper. Can I email it to the Undertaker? Or can I email it to the funeral home to say, my name is so-and-so and so-and-so, this is what I want my final, or send the final disposition.
This is who I want in.
Yeah.
Definitely not. So we need an actually printed paper, we
Okay.
need a signature, we need a notary stamp on it, we need it dated.
Mhm.
We want those things so the person won't have anything to fight with. So some people are saying right now, well, is it really necessary? It's not a law to say you have to have one, but I can tell you this, if you don't,
Oh, my
you're setting
goodness.
yourself up for
Absolutely.
failure.
Right.
80%, and I say 80, I would say 80% of people are not prepared
Mhm.
for death. You say, well, what do you mean prepared?
Right.
Well, there's 2 things you need to prepare for. You need to prepare where your soul is going. And then you need to prepare what's going to happen with your body.
Right.
You
Right.
need to prepare both of
Absolutely.
those
Right.
things. So
Absolutely.
80% of people, 8 out of 10 people are not prepared. 9 out of 10 do not leave a person in charge. They do not leave one person in charge. So 9 out of 10 people. So we handle about 3,000 deaths
Mhm.
a year at Golden Gate Funeral Home.
Mhm.
But make sure I hit the right button over
Yes,
here.
yes.
All right, we are good. Okay. So it's very important that out of those 3,000, 9 out of 10 of them will not have a written paper on who's in charge.
Mhm.
So you would think 9 out of 10 don't have that. Is it chaos with 9 out of 10 families? That answer is no,
Wow.
because the state of Texas has something in place. If you don't have this right of disposition, the state of Texas have one for you.
The next of kin.
The next of kin.
Mhm.
So the state of Texas says, listen, there's one person in charge.
Right.
And that one person is the
Next of
next
kin.
of kin. So let's talk about this, because we're gonna walk through who is the
Next of
next of
kin.
kin. So let's just walk through what
Yes,
the state
sir.
of Texas says. Jackie did another great job on the show. She did all the research for us. We have it right here in front of us. So thank you,
Yes.
Jackie,
Thank you, Miss Jackie.
for that. The state of Texas says this: the spouse
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
the next of kin.
Correct.
So Marlonda, I'm married. So do I have to have a right of disposition if I'm married? What do you think? What's your opinion about that?
I think it can go either way, Mr. B. I
Okay.
think I can definitely say yes, and then I can definitely say maybe no. Maybe you and your spouse, everything is gravy, everything is good, so you don't think that you need one. That's fine. But for myself, even though things may be going great, I still want one in place.
Okay.
Just because I'm an organized person, I still want to have a right of disposition in place. I'm just organized like that. So I just want to have one in place, because at the moment, Mr. Beckwith, I don't have a contingent on that right of disposition.
So let's talk about that. So the state of Texas says the next of kin is in charge.
Mhm.
The first next of kin is the spouse.
Right.
Now, I have parents.
Mhm.
So yes, my wife is the next of kin, but my dad is still alive, and my mom is still alive.
Mhm. So that's the
Does
order.
my
Mhm.
wife outrank my mama in the room?
What does the state
Well, the
say?
state's gonna say yes, but is
Right.
that reality?
Right, right,
And it may not be in my case.
right. Mhm.
And it may be my wife, I need my wife to outrank my mom.
Sure.
If that's the case, just do a
Right
right
of
of disposition.
disposition.
Whoever
Mhm.
you want in charge in the room, make it clear with that piece of paper.
Right.
So let's say if I say I have a mother and I have a wife, I want my mom
Mhm.
to see a sheet of paper signed by me
Right.
that's saying, Mama, she's in charge. I know the state of Texas says she's in charge, but you need to hear from me that she's in charge.
That's good.
Or I need to have a sheet of paper say, hey, baby, I love you. We got married, but my mom is in charge when I die.
Mhm.
So even if I have a spouse,
Mhm.
you still need a
Right of disposition.
right of disposition. Regardless if you're married or not, whoever you want in charge, put it in writing. State of Texas should not come up in the conversation
Sure.
because that sheet of paper is going to
Right.
outrank that. So let's talk a little bit about spouses. I love spouses because we're in the state of
Texas.
Texas. I love Texas, and I know Louisiana is listening. We have a funeral home there as well, and people from around the nation. Each state has different laws when it comes to spouses.
Mhm.
So the state of Texas have a common law,
Yes.
common law marriage.
Mhm.
A lot of people say, well, that's nothing. Common law is not nothing. You don't have, if you didn't go before a preacher and he didn't sign your license, if you didn't go before a judge and they didn't sign your license, that is not true in the state of Texas.
Wow.
You have an option, Marlon.
Wow.
I don't have to go before a judge to be married in the state of Texas. I do not have to have a marriage license in the
State of Texas.
You can't just make up rules.
Right.
The rule says that I don't have to do that in the state of Texas.
Mhm.
My spouse, 3 things. You ready?
I'm ready.
All Marlonda and I have to do, and me and anybody else have to do, is agree to be married in the state of Texas. It's 3 things now. One of them is,
Mhm.
all you do is just agree. As
Okay.
long as you're not legally married to,
Someone else, then we can just say, okay, me and you married.
we're married.
Okay.
And listen, that's one of the
Wow.
3 things. You say, that's my husband. I say, that's my wife.
Okay.
Period. We are married in the state of Texas. 3 things.
But I don't have to have his last name and he doesn't.
No, name has nothing
Okay.
to do.
Okay. Okay.
Second thing, whenever you're ready, we have to live together like that.
Okay.
We have to live together as husband and wife.
Okay.
So the first thing we have to do,
We have to agree
just agree on,
on titles. You're my husband.
you're
I'm
my
your
wife.
wife. I got you.
Second thing, we have to live like that.
We have to live like that.
We have
Okay.
to live
As a married couple.
as a married couple.
Okay.
Husband and wife live in the same
Household.
under the same roof
Okay.
as husband
And wife. Okay.
not roommates.
Not roommates.
We have
right.
to be living as
as a
husband.
husband and wife. Woo, this
Isn't
is
that something,
deep.
Listen, if
Mhm.
I agree to be married,
Mm-hmm. Stay at the same house.
if I live in the
Same house. Same room.
same room
Mm-hmm.
and someone can witness that, that's the third thing. Somebody has to know it.
Then it's a done deal.
It takes one neighbor to show up in court and say, yeah, that's her husband. Yeah, that's their wife. They live across the street. He said that's his husband. Y'all, that's it.
Wow.
You're married in the state of Texas. Check this out. You say, look at that common law stuff. Y'all, that makes that person the next of kin. They just outranked your mom. They just outranked your
my.
adult children.
Oh my.
You keep playing this girlfriend-boyfriend game. You're shacking.
Mm-hmm.
But in the state of Texas,
It's.
remember, you dead.
Mm-hmm.
So that number one thing with that agreement to be married
Mm-hmm.
is only one opinion now.
Wow.
Only the live person is saying what? We agreed to be married.
Right.
The dead person don't have right to get up and say, I never agreed to that.
Wow.
Well, okay, that's
So the
pretty much
mom and the
Sure.
wife come in at the same time to say,
mama in the living.
and the live-in, correct me, I'm sorry,
Okay.
the live-in, they come in to make funeral arrangements
Right.
at the same time.
Who's in
So
charge?
what does the undertaker say to that?
Is that your common law husband?
Wow.
And she says or he says yes, that ends the conversation. They become the next of kin. if that deceased person dies and goes to the medical examiner's office, the medical examiner would not release the body to the mom. Would not release it to the child.
Wow.
Because that person is
Common law
married.
You helping somebody, Mr. B.
I'm just telling
You helping somebody.
You can hit us on Facebook.
They hit you on here, Mr. B.
Come on, let's get some questions.
First of
does
all,
it take a lot in the state of Texas? How important is this right of disposition?
Good morning, Miss Delphine Payne, all the way from Louisiana. John
That's
Sitter.
mother-in-law right there, y'all.
Red Moore says,
Okay.
Mr. Beckwith, you are so right. We went through this with my brother.
Hey, there's something. We got a witness.
Got a
As they would say
witness.
in the Baptist church, we got a witness.
Got a witness here.
All
Wow.
right. So next of kin
Next of kin.
is the spouse. What does it take to be a spouse in the state of Texas?
Agreeing.
Two people agree. Remember, the other person is dead.
Dead.
It just takes one person to just say we're married.
Mm-hmm.
Live together
Mm-hmm. As married.
husband and wife.
Husband
How
and
many
wife.
people live in the same house?
Okay.
And it just takes one neighbor,
To say,
one person at the grocery store
wow.
to say, yeah, he don't introduce us as his wife. Yeah, he said that's his wife. Yeah, he said that's it. That person is now the next of kin. That person can be mean to your family. That person can tell your mama shut up and get out. You better have a right of disposition and put your mama in charge. Put your kids in charge if that's who you want in charge.
Because she's saying here, Mr. B, that they went back and forth about cremation. That the
common
mom,
law?
that the mother and the girlfriend were going back and forth.
That's on
about.
Facebook
This
right
is
now.
on
They
Facebook.
saying I had to go back and forth with that girlfriend.
Girlfriend and
Now,
mom about
who's calling
cremation
her a girlfriend? You
instead of
understand?
common law,
Because
right?
a girlfriend ain't calling herself a girlfriend.
She calling herself
a
Wife,
y'all. That all you have to have is a
witness.
right of disposition. A right of disposition doesn't matter. You call yourself common law all day. I'm not arguing that. What I'm arguing is that you're not in charge. Because this sheet of paper says who's
In charge.
In charge. Now, who wants their mama fussing with their girlfriend? Who wants their mama daddy fussing with a boyfriend? One sheet of paper. And that person just has to be over the age of 18. They do not have to be a relative. Now, how important is it now
Oh man.
to have a right of disposition? Okay. Forget the common law. Y'all got to understand spouse comes
It's
first.
deep.
Now. I'm just gonna go right down the line. Who comes next? Well, this is who comes next. Is surviving adult biological children and adopted children.
Okay.
They are equal next of kin. People, this is what most people think, the oldest in charge. So you have Carolyn, which is the oldest of all the children. You have me, which is the baby. Which one y'all think is in charge?
All of you are.
Well, we
equal.
think we all in charge because I run a funeral home. I'm the CEO of the funeral home.
Right.
How Carolyn gonna tell me what to do? I'm in charge of the whole family business.
Yep.
Y'all, the bottom line is Debbie don't even work in the family business. She just as much as in charge as me and Carolyn. And so is Charlotte.
Right.
Because we're all equal next of
Kin.
kin. That's why
Wow.
you have to have a right of
Wow.
disposition. You're gonna have kids in here fighting on who's in
charge?
who's in charge. And we don't have to. Junior, you're the beneficiary. Carolyn, you're the beneficiary, so you're in charge. Junior, you're the beneficiary, so you're in charge. Charlotte, I tell you what, you're better at making decisions. You in charge. Whoever's in charge, put it in.
Put it in writing.
This is what gets me, is that biological children are equal next of kin. Y'all, they don't have to live in the same household.
But one of them has to be in charge, though, right?
You don't
Mr. B?
hear what I'm saying. No, you can have 4 or 5 of them in charge. Mama's baby,
And don't start.
daddy's me, and daddy got one across town
But they are still
that
equal.
you don't even know about.
See, now.
That he got some side stuff going on, that he been taking care of something across town. That person can walk in that room and be in equal next of kin to everybody else in the room. That's what the state of Texas said.
Wow.
It says biological children. The ones you know or don't know. Biological children. Adopted. The ones you know or the ones you don't know.
This can get messy, Mr. Beckwith.
Not with a right of disposition. It comes back to have a,
Right of disposition, yeah.
and they don't have to get messy.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have that sheet of paper, don't let it come down to children.
Mm-hmm.
You see how silly it can get with spouses.
Right, right,
Let it come down to
right.
children. It can really get out of control.
How often do you see this on
We don't see it that often now. When we do see it, we remember it because it can get pretty bad.
Goodness.
I can tell you 9 out of 10 times this don't come up.
Okay.
But when it do, you saw what Facebook said. When
Yeah,
it does come up,
She said it was terrible.
It can be a mess. That's when
Mhm.
they have to call the police. That's when the SWAT team shows up. That's when the constables and all those people have to show up. But it can be all avoided with one sheet of paper. It doesn't take an attorney to do the paper.
Okay.
Doesn't take any money. It is free of.
Charge.
And you know we notarize them free here.
Right,
Because we
right.
don't want anybody to have to go through this. Now this is interesting. Stepchildren are not equal.
Right. You did
That hurts my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because who makes stepchildren in black families?
Mm-hmm.
We don't do it like that.
Right, right, right.
We all equal. What do you
Right.
mean step? They no step in no
Right,
family. Come on
right.
now.
That's right.
But the state of Texas says
Mhm.
blood relation.
Now what
if
if
it's
that?
a stepchild
Mm-hmm.
and there's a child on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
even though the stepchild took care of daddy, did everything for him,
Right.
took care of all the business, they're not as equal as the outside child. Don't ever put your children in this situation. Just say right of. No, we're not talking about last will and testament right now.
No,
We're
no,
not talking about what you're leaving them.
no.
We're talking about who's gonna be in charge of your funeral.
Yeah.
What are we gonna do with your body? Is all we're talking about. And this information comes from the Texas Health and Safety Code. Texas Health and Safety Code. Thank you, Jackie, for this. Because y'all, I haven't got to your mom and daddy yet.
Wow.
We're still on spouses, more
Still on
London.
spouses.
We're still on children, more London.
Oh.
And we ain't even made it down to mom and dad who really has the insurance policy anyway. Who really has the money to do it.
Right.
The one who actually owns the plot that you're probably gonna be.
Mhm. Burying it. Mhm.
We haven't even got to you.
Wow.
That's how important it is to have a right
Right
of
of
disposition, especially as African Americans.
Right.
Y'all, last thing we need is a mess.
Right.
Y'all, we live through it. We done been through a lot.
Oh, we have.
Last thing, they say you might live
Right.
crazy. You don't need to die crazy. Now, not if you're listening to Ask
The
the
Undertaker,
Undertaker show.
right.
We're saying get this right of disposition.
Please.
Marlon, this makes sense.
It just makes sense because I mean, especially, just speaking from the standpoint of, whether you have a large family or not, just get it done. I don't think it should be prompted upon, well, if I have, 5, siblings or 2 siblings, I think it's just imperative that it get done because it just makes you look organized and just want to have you to speak from the grave. You know what? I don't want my family to have to worry about anything. No arguments. But as you stated, you don't see that quite often. But I think that
But when we do,
it's not that good.
Exactly. So we made it down to your parents.
Okay.
Remember this. It took 2.
Mm,
2 parents.
Mom and dad.
Are they even still together?
Mhm.
Now,
Wow.
mama got another husband that has an opinion. And daddy got another wife that has an opinion.
Mm.
And remember, it's 2 of them now.
Wow.
And they're both equal.
Next of kin.
You know how in child support, somebody may be aware of this, there's a thing called a custodial parent
Yes.
and a non-custodial parent.
Yes.
That's not the case in death. It had nothing to do with who raised them. It has nothing to do with who took care of them. He didn't have to give you a dime. He didn't even have to claim you.
Wow.
But when you die,
It's equal.
he is equal to your mama.
Wow.
She didn't even have to do nothing for you. She could have gave you away in birth to your daddy.
Mm.
But when you die, they become,
Equal.
that's where the mess come in.
Oh my goodness.
Ain't it raised you as your mama? Because mama was out there doing her thing. But when
Wow.
you die, Amy is not in charge, even though you called her mama.
Right.
In
That's
reality,
right.
she's really not your mama.
Wow.
She's your Amy.
Amy. Mm-hmm.
Even though your cousin raised you in reality, I know you called him daddy, but in reality, that's not your dad, that's your uncle, that's your cousin.
Right.
They're not in charge. If you don't have a
Right of
Right of
disposition.
disposition.
It's just that simple, Mr. B. Just a piece
You
of
ask me
paper.
how often I see it. I don't see it often, but I can tell you I've seen every one of these situations. I've seen every one of these situations this year. Remember now, I saw 3,000 people this year. But every one of these situations
Sure.
happened at least once in Golden Gate in
My
2020,
goodness.
and every year probably before then.
Right, definitely.
All because a right of disposition.
Wow.
Yeah, we haven't even made it down to cousins. We haven't even made it down to them folks yet. We haven't even got close to that yet.
Wow.
We haven't even got past your immediate.
Family.
Now, we get past your parents. Remember, it's two parents. We never know where that's going.
Mm-hmm.
After that, we get into your sister, brother.
Okay.
Because people would think, man, we don't made it that far down. We don't ever make it that far. That's not true. Because my sister and I work together
Every day.
She's probably going to want to have a opinion. Now,
Definitely.
Jack is in charge, but she's probably going to want to have. And I'm pretty sure Jack is going to give her one.
Sure.
Kevin's in charge, but I'm pretty sure Kevin's not going to at least discuss something that's going to happen
Yeah.
at Carol's funeral or
Yeah.
something. And because siblings are important.
Sure, definitely.
Even though you're way down on the list
Yeah.
when it comes to
Yeah.
next of kin,
Yeah.
according to
Mm-hmm.
the state of
Because
Texas.
as the brother, you got to think about her children, you know, her and Kevin's
Yeah,
children,
you gotta think
and
about
so the
everything.
parents, and so it's just like, well, hey man, you know, I work with her every day. I've been knowing her. She's been knowing me since I was a baby. She
Listen,
she watched me and
I should
kept
have
me.
some type of something to say. This is
Yeah.
my sister. Listen, check this out. I'm a beneficiary of a insurance policy.
A insurance
Now, if
policy.
you don't put me in charge of something, what?
Yeah, it's
I'm
like,
not giving you none of my money either.
yeah.
Don't ask me to pay for this casket. Don't ask me to pay for the grave.
Mhm.
Don't ask me to pay for anything.
Yeah.
It is very important.
Okay.
So let's move on to some of these other 7 things that's important to us.
Oh yes, let's do
Pre-need.
it. Pre-need. You can finance it or you don't have to finance it.
So
you know?
you're saying, listen, now we talked about next of kin. What happens if we don't have this right of disposition in
Mhm.
charge?
Mhm.
But now we know about this right of disposition.
Yes,
So
we
we're
know.
good, right?
We
We
good.
good on
Oh,
that.
I'm good.
So now I know
I've
who's in
been taught.
charge because you put it in writing.
Writing.
But still, even though I'm in charge, I don't know what you want.
Right.
I
So
just don't know. Okay, Grambling, you know, you're a Grambling fan, but you're also a Saints fan.
mhm.
You're
Pittsburgh.
married. You
Mhm.
graduated from a couple of different colleges,
Mhm.
and you work at another college.
Mhm.
So which one do I?
Yeah.
What do I go with in this funeral?
Right.
I'm in charge, but I don't know what to.
You don't know what
I
to
don't
do.
know what to do. So that's where the
The pre-need comes from.
bottom line period.
And I love this particular part of the show, and I know, you know, Mr. B is the expert. I call him the mastermind, and so I like to talk about different type of shopping. You know, we talk about bargain shoppers and brand shoppers, and so I love brands. You know, I love my Louis Vuitton.
Okay.
You know, I love my red bottom. So
But
I
you
want
don't
that.
have to tell me
But
that.
I'm gonna have to tell you that in my pre-need,
Okay.
Mr. B. I want this type of casket. I want a full couch because I don't want my family coming in here making decisions on the worst day of their life.
And maybe not family.
And maybe not
Maybe
family.
right of
It
disposition.
might right. Exactly. Here we go. Back to the right of disposition. But you're absolutely right. You know, I love being organized. I have several notebooks.
Okay.
And so just being able to write down, hey, this is what I like. This is the flower that I like. This is the color that I like. Color is very important at funerals. And typically,
Very
you know,
important to you.
for me, I
Not
would
so
say,
much for
not
me.
so much for you. And
Okay.
so I think that, you know, when you walk in and you see this particular type of flower, everybody's gonna know, oh yeah, that's her. Yeah,
Okay.
she like so. But we have to write it down.
And you have to tell it to the right of
Disposition.
disposition.
Yes, sir.
Which may just be my
Maybe my
maybe
next
just
kid.
maybe my
I
next
had to be careful with him.
So at this time, we're going to pray for the families who have entrusted their loved ones to Golden Gate Funeral Home, who went on to their reward.
Mr. Alvin Roney, Mr. John Moody Sr., Miss Melissa Ortiz, Mr. Donnie Wade Sr., Mr. Tommy Cleveland, Miss Rhoda Robinson, Mr. Eddie Finley, Mr. Willard Burke Sr., Miss Dolores Delaney, Miss Anita Romo, Mr. L.C. Hubbard Jr., Mr. Coquise Shannon, Miss Joever Flowers, Mr. Benjamin Scott, Mr. Leon Reynolds, Mr. Larry Sloan, Mr. Roger Williams, Mr. Dennis Berry, Miss Odessa Hicks, Mr. Vernon Brown, Miss Tony Jones, Mr. Milton Aldridge Jr., Miss Dorothy Thomas, Mr. Nehru Stamper, Mr. William Davis, Mr. Charles Beasley, Mr. Andrew Milburn, Mr. Michael Henderson, Mr. Marcus Clay, Mr. Kevin Massey, Mr. Lorenzo Graves, Miss Emma Hall, Miss Gloria Hardin, Miss Nichelle LaConta, Mr. Jeffrey Tevis, Miss Lucille Davis, Miss Virginia Brayton, Mr. Samson Horace, Mr. Luther Rogers, Miss Felicia Malloy Lane, Miss Yolanda Romo, Miss Doris Dennis, Mr. James Atkins, Mr. David Blakely Sr., Mr. William Gillespie, Miss Zula Lewis, Mr. Frederick Cole, Miss Marcella Ross, Miss Bertha Sims, Mr. Jimmy Flemings, Mr. Cedric Biddle, Mr. Don Spears, Miss Denise Fisher, Miss Christy Edwards, Miss Ellen Dixon, Mr. Eric Smith, Mr. George Marion, Miss Camilla Chris, Miss Sandra Johnson, Miss Gertrude Beal, Miss Angela Allison, Miss Patricia Gabriel, Mr. John Ramsey, Miss Nadal Henderson, Mr. J. Wright, Mr. Joseph Hughes Jr., Miss Jasmine Anderson, Infant Aiden Bale, Miss Carolyn Lewis, Mr. Tremail Walker, Miss Mary Rose, Mr. Kenneth Harrison, Miss Shirley Raymond, Miss Lula Conley, Miss Pearlie Webb, Mr. Richard Harford, Mr. Raymond Ward, Miss Marie Tucker, Miss Patricia Hollinas, Miss Tyra Gillum, Mr. Larry Brown, Mr. Marvin Peters, Miss Diane Smith, Mr. David Stevenson, Mr. Cecil Reed, Mr. Wendell Odell, Miss Maria Olivares, Miss Patricia Cobb, Mr. Edwin Washington, Miss Jessica Jones, Miss Macy Rowland, and Mr. Dan Caraway. Mr.
Shall we
Beckwith.
pray? Our Father, which art in heaven, we come to you right now, God. We ask that you will continue to comfort the families whose loved one has passed on to their reward. God, we ask you to put your arms around these families and let them know that there's nothing on earth that heaven cannot heal. God, we pray for those who are sick and shut in on today. God, we also pray for those who are traveling during this holiday weekend. We ask that you put a guide over them and you watch out for them if they make it home safely to their families. God, we ask you to look out for those who are servicing families on today. Remind them of their objective, remind them of their goal is to make sure that those who mourn are being comforted. And God, we ask this in your darling son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Today we're talking about who has the right of final disposition. Well, Orlando, it's going to be important
It's going to be important, Mr. Bennett.
that everybody at least have one.
Please do.
And make sure
Please.
the right one or the right person is in charge of that found disposition. We talk about what is a found disposition. If you had to just conclude it right now with a couple of seconds, what would you say? What is a found disposition?
Your wishes of your final resting place, your human body, what you want done to your human body.
Bottom line, period. People I always say that that's such a big thing, disposition or final disposition. The bottom line is that somebody's going to have a right to do what they want to do with your body.
Sure.
Bottom line, and who's going to be in charge of your body if you choose not to get this right of found disposition? The state of Texas will be more than happy, or the state that you live in will be more than happy to make that decision
for you.
Spouses, common law spouses,
that common law, y'all took me out.
children, adult children,
Yes,
doesn't
sir.
matter how old you are and who's in charge. Anybody that's over the age of 18 is equal. Next, even outside children.
Yes, sir.
Stepchildren are not included, but adopted children
They are.
Then we have your mother and father, even if they're not together, even if one of them was custodial parent and one was non-custodial, if they paid child support and they never did anything in their life, they're both equal
next
of kin. And then after that, you have your siblings.
Yes.
You know how that can go.
Very, very left.
We haven't even made it to the aunts and the uncles
and the cousins.
Just keep in mind, now after siblings, you have the grandparents. Now, you know, if your grandparents are still alive and grandmama walk in or granddaddy walk in, yeah, that's pretty much.
It's a done deal.
It's a done deal. Grandmama said something, granddaddy said something, you have to listen. Y'all, they so far down the list. They are way down the list.
But
it's a long way before we get to them.
Yes, sir.
So if you want your grandparents in charge, like they probably should be, put them as the right
disposition.
Then you have grandchildren, great-grandchildren, nieces and nephews, great nieces and nephews, grands, aunts, uncles, first cousins, second cousins. Yeah, that's a lot of folks.
It sure is.
If you think about people say, well, John, that's crazy. It's never going to make it all the way down to cousin. I disagree. If something happened to Michael Beckwith today, and we're just first cousins, would I have a right in what happens at his funeral?
Depends on where you are.
Probably so.
Wow.
I would think that his next of kin will say, okay, they're so close, I definitely want to hear.
Right.
Yeah, if something happened to me, y'all don't think Jackie will ask Michael Beckwith's opinion?
Of course.
You don't understand how important. Y'all listen, the relationship, the blood has nothing to do with how close you are.
That's true.
That's why you have to have a right of
disposition.
Because I know there's some people you're close to.
Very much
that you trust. That may not rank all the way up to the top of that list. It's a long way before you get to cousin.
Right. But there are, like you say, I don't think you have to be blood to have an opinion. That we always say, oh, that's my sister. And like, for real, like we do act like sisters, but we are not blood related. And I know that my husband would let that individual have a say. Y'all spend so much time together. You're at North Park every other weekend. You do all of this together.
And then she knows that you like Louis Vuitton.
Yes.
She knows your favorite color. She knows something about your flowers.
Right.
Because that's who you spend your
time with.
So maybe they need to be the right of.
No, now you being messy. But I didn't say all of that, but at least they'll have an opinion.
At least an opinion.
Yeah. Right.
So when we say that your next of kin is going to make a decision, we say that your right of disposition is going to make. What decisions do they really get to make? Yeah, this has nothing to do with last will and testament.
Not at all.
This has nothing to do with a living will. This has nothing to do with payable on debt.
Right.
It has nothing to do with
pay it out on insurance.
Y'all,
right.
this is what we're talking about. Are we going to bury you or cremate you?
That's it.
And are we going to entomb your body?
That's right.
Are we going to have a funeral for you? Are we going to have a visitation? Where are we going to have it?
Right.
That's where the fight starts.
Absolutely.
All that other stuff happens
Absolutely
after the funeral. Last will and testaments are not read during funerals. You cannot walk into the funeral home with a will and hand it to the funeral director.
It won't do
it means nothing to me as a funeral director. All last will and testaments must go before a court. There is a probate that all last will and testaments must go through before they even become legitimate.
Right.
So you can't walk in here with a last will and testament unless there's a little clause in it that says this person has the right of disposition.
Okay.
That has to be in there. And that's the only part we look at. So
Wow.
how important is insurance then?
Very.
So I got this right of disposition, right?
Mhm.
I'm in charge, or I don't have it, and my next of kin is in charge. Who got the money? Insurance.
Mhm.
And this is my favorite part about insurance is not probated. Insurance is not in last will and testaments.
Wow.
Insurance does not go before a court. Insurance is not probated. Whoever the beneficiary is, Merlanda has a blank check.
That's true. And so
Isn't
that's
that
why you
nice?
probably want consistency.
I mean, isn't that nice?
It is nice.
So if
I
you make you beneficiary,
Mhm.
you can do anything you want that money.
That's correct.
You don't have to take that money
Mhm.
and put $1 toward my family.
Mhm.
You don't have to take that money and feed any of my children.
Mhm.
That's your money if you're the beneficiary. And nothing nobody can do about it. Isn't that nice?
That is nice.
That's a nice feeling.
That is nice.
Just to know that you are completely in charge of don't get it twisted, money.
Not service.
Not service, not burial, not cremation,
Mhm.
you're just in charge of
Of the money,
of the money.
not the final
Some
disposition.
people just want the money.
Wow.
I got to be honest, I'd rather be beneficiary than.
I'm trying to tell you.
You know, some people like power, some people like money.
Yeah.
You know, it depends on the individual.
True.
I prefer just to be
Yeah.
I want to be the beneficiary.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to be.
But you also, I mean, seriously, like, well, I mean, for different strokes for different folks, but for me,
You
That's-
make me the beneficiary, y'all can argue about what to do with the body.
so, but what if the person who has the final disposition, the final right of disposition, what if they don't have any money, you have the money?
Whoever has the goal, make the rules. I mean, I'm just saying, if you
I
want to
hear
use
you.
my money,
I
you
hear
might want to listen to my opinion.
Opinion.
So who out there
Right.
don't want this to happen with your family? Well, make sure whoever you have as the right of disposition
Mhm.
is also the beneficiary of the
Insurance.
and make
Mhm.
sure that they are the payable on death
Right.
on the
Bank account. Mm-hmm.
because who has the money make the rules,
Rules.
right?
That's true. Money has the power. Money
I'm
has the
just
power.
telling you.
Yeah.
But I don't have to give you one dime toward anything. So if I have a bank account and I left a right of this payable on death,
Okay.
if I left a beneficiary on my bank account, that person does not have to go to court. It has nothing to do with the last will and testament. No judge can touch it. No court can touch it. I can just go in there with a death certificate,
Mhm.
get the money out, and disappear.
Wow.
And that is legal to do so. I don't have to give your family one dime. I don't have to pay one dime toward what to do with the money.
Wow.
That's how powerful payable on death is.
Mm-hmm.
That's how powerful a beneficiary of an insurance,
policy.
because these
Mhm.
things do not have to be probated.
Right.
So we have to get these things in order.
Sure.
So whoever I'm gonna put in charge of the funeral,
Mm-hmm.
I need to make sure they are payable on death on the.
Insurance and bank account.
Yeah, gotta be beneficiary
Yeah.
of both of those
Everything.
things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting, with this COVID, it's just crazy. I thought about doing a whole show today just on
On COVID.
COVID, and I'm so
Mhm.
tired of COVID.
Oh, aren't we all?
But these numbers are ridiculous,
Oh,
and they're
they're
saying after
crazy.
Thanksgiving,
300,000.
ooh, they're thinking, my
Mhm.
God, it's gonna be unbelievable,
Yes, sir.
the deaths, and how many people are gonna get sick, and the hospitals are already over full. And
Yes.
the bottom line is that some people that catch COVID will just walk away from it. But some people is gonna catch and end up on a ventilator,
Yes, sir.
and they won't be able to speak from themselves.
That's right.
And some people are not gonna get over COVID, and they're not gonna die, but they might end up in a nursing home,
Right.
or some other disease, so
Right.
many other things, heart attacks, strokes that can be caused by this terrible disease, that can put me in a position where I can't speak for myself.
Mhm.
So how important is a living will, especially during this pandemic?
A living will is so important, and nowadays, if you're going in for a medical procedure or anything, they ask you, do you have a living will? And while I'm not on a ventilator right now, and I'm having this discussion with you, and those of us that have the privilege of watching this show and that are not sick, you have to have a living will. Every time you, again, go into a doctor, if I had a baby, hey, do you have a living will? Because something could go wrong.
Right.
You could die in childbirth. Do you have one?
Or you could just be incapacitated.
Correct.
You might end up in a nursing home.
Right.
You might end up at your home. And you're not talking about this before.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you want to go? You want to go to a nursing home or you want to go home?
I want to go home.
So you want your husband and your kids to put their lives on hold and take care of you.
I don't necessarily
I'm
think
just
it would be
saying.
on
I'm
hold,
just
but
saying.
yeah, I know what you're saying. But I think that there would be enough money, insurance money, to be able to have someone to come in, because I still want to see my children grow
So
up.
you want to be at home. You want to make sure you have enough money. In place.
Correct.
Now, when we say insurance, now this is important. You're not dead.
Right.
So your life insurance don't pay for this.
Right. Exactly.
This is disability.
Disability insurance. Right.
You gotta have something in place. If you say,
Absolutely.
listen, in my living will, I want to go home.
Right.
Well, you're gonna need to put something in place so I can have some home health care.
Absolutely.
Because it's unfair that you turn your person
Absolutely.
that lives with you into a caretaker, and
Right.
they never signed up for caretaker.
Right, and I say that now, Mr. Beckwith, because when we hear all of these stories about the nursing home now, like if that were to happen now, I definitely don't want to be in the nursing home because
You saw what
because
happened in the nursing home.
I did, and then COVID is so hot and heavy in those nursing homes, so I would prefer to go home and be with my children and my family.
Is it important to talk to your spouse about that? I'm
Absolutely.
getting ready to do a living will, but I'm banking on you to execute it.
Mhm.
So what do you mean? Well, listen, I want to go home. Well, who house you want to go to? Because when you get sick, I plan on go get another one.
You know what?
Wait a
I'm
minute,
going
hold
back
on
to
now,
the
hold on. Let's
where
talk
the
about this
mortgage
for a
don't
minute.
see. Here you go, y'all.
If you're gonna do a living will, you have to get an agreement on who's going to
Mhm.
and how we're gonna be able to afford that. And
Right.
so far it's on. So my living will might say put me in a nursing home.
Mhm.
Don't let Jackie enjoy her house.
Okay.
You can come visit me every now and then.
Okay.
I'm just saying,
Sure.
different people should say, this is crazy. Some people think their children gonna take care of them. Some people really think
Mhm.
if something happens to you, them little bad kids,
They
gonna
gonna
take you to
take
their
care.
house. Really? You really think
Mhm.
they gonna take care? And I'm not saying some people won't.
Right.
I know a lot of people make a lot of promises.
Sure. And don't
Yeah.
guilt trip them. Don't guilt trip them into taking care of you
There
either.
you go.
Don't
Because
guilt
they're
trip
not
them.
gonna do a good job.
That's right.
So we need to make sure that living will, that's what we gotta do to make
Yeah.
show on.
Yeah.
To make sure people
Absolutely.
understand that things can happen. It doesn't always happen to death.
Right.
But I know, Shirley Caesar wrote a song about that.
She did. She did. She did.
The kid got ready to take her to the
She
nursing home, and
did.
the other bad boy shows up and
That's
takes her
it.
home. But Shirley didn't finish the song.
She
She
did.
didn't say what happened when she got home.
See?
When she slept, did she eat? Did he change her? Did he turn her over? She got bed sore. I don't know. But it was a
See,
good song.
it was a good song, but I don't want to be resuscitated though, either, Mr. Beckwith. So, like, if something
Yeah,
were to
right.
happen in surgery, I don't want to be resuscitated. So I don't want to be a vegetable. Now, let's get that understood. So, if they say, "Oh, she'll be fine," but she'll be a vegetable, I think we have to talk
And I
about
can tell
different
you,
stages.
your kids and your husband love you so much, they're gonna do everything they can to keep you here. So it's gonna be important you put that in that living
Right.
will. Don't do that to me.
Right. Right.
Because I don't want to suffer. I don't
Right.
want to live like
Sure.
that. And I can tell you, if you don't have that in writing, your family's not gonna pull your plug.
Yeah.
And
It
I
has to
say
be
that to
done.
everybody that's watching and listening. If you don't put in writing, pull my plug, your family's not going to. They love you too much.
Mhm.
And they will sacrifice their life. And they will become a caretaker.
Right.
And I don't want to be that burden on anybody.
Sure. I don't want to be that burden, but I don't want to suffer. I just don't want to be a vegetable, and I don't want to suffer. So that's why I
they
say
can pull a plug, or
they can.
call it Dr. Kawarkian.
No.
No,
No.
Dr. Kawarkian.
Mm-mm.
Okay, all right. So
Mm-mm.
it's a little bit more to this.
Yeah.
So I think we hit this right of disposition pretty good.
Oh yeah.
So let's just make sure that we don't forget this show today, is that this right of disposition is free.
It is.
They're right here at Golden Gate Funeral.
Mhm.
You can stop by, pick up one. We have it right here at the front desk for you.
Mhm.
You fill it out. You say, this is who I want in charge if I pass away.
Mhm.
If I'm married, I might put my spouse on there.
Mhm.
I might put my mama. I might put my daddy, but that's up to
Me.
We're saying just make sure the money matches. If you're gonna put me in charge of something,
Give me
make sure
some
there's
money.
enough money there to take care of what you're asking of. And this is important. Where's all these things? You say you have a last will and testament. You say you have a living will. You say you got all these things in place. Where are they? And that's what we talk about. Where's this last letter of instructions?
Yeah, the last letter of instructions is so important, and so I found myself. I have a draft in my email account,
Okay.
and so as things change, I just go back in the draft and I just update it and I email it to those individuals, that I'm, leaving
So
these
you're saying,
instructions
okay,
to.
what is the letter of instructions?
Mhm.
So we're saying, everybody's listening to us, everybody
Yes.
is watching us, go out and type up
Go out
where
and type up.
everything is. You say,
Absolutely.
what do you mean everything? Let's talk about these 7 things
Mhm.
first.
Sure.
Where is the pre-need?
Pre-need.
Right down. Number 1, my pre-need is with Golden Gate Funeral Home.
Mhm.
If I pass away, call them.
Right.
This is where my last will and testament is.
Mhm.
This is a person who's in charge of my last will and testament.
Mhm.
Find it at this safe. This is the combination.
Right. Right.
And please don't let nobody get hold of this that's not in it, because what's gonna happen? The last will and testament is gonna disappear.
It sure is.
I can tell you right now, if I read it before the judge read it,
Mhm.
and I ain't in it, ain't nobody reading it.
See,
I'm
you
just
got
telling
that
you.
right. You
So
got that
everybody
right.
don't need access to the
That's
last
right.
will and testament.
That's right.
This is not Perry Mason.
That's
Nobody's
right.
gonna bust in the courtroom at the end
That's
and
right.
make it okay. You better put things in place.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3, insurance, right?
Insurance.
We talk
That's
about
right.
insurance.
Mhm.
Usually number 2 on our list. Beneficiary.
Yes, sir.
If your beneficiary is your kids and they are under the age of 18, they're not getting the money until they become of age.
Mhm.
So if you have a young child, you cannot make them the beneficiary of the insurance. They won't get the money. This is not television. This is not a Cinderella story. There's no happy ending if you don't take care of your business. You need an adult that you trust
Mhm.
that's going to take care of your children. That's who should be the beneficiary of your insurance. And you have to tell us where the insurance is.
Mhm.
If it's with your job, fine, just write that in the letter.
Right.
If it's with American National, Reliable, it doesn't matter. Put it in the letter and tell us who the beneficiary is.
Please.
Just say, so-and-so is the beneficiary. And please take care of my children with this money. This is where my bank account is.
Mhm.
So how many people have more than one bank?
Me.
Yeah, not unusual.
Mhm. Not
We don't have all our eggs in one
basket.
basket. You have more than one account. Now, we don't know that. I don't know who your beneficiary of your bank account is. I have no idea who's the payable on that.
Right.
You must put that in the letter.
Mhm.
Check this out. You can tell me you bank with Bank of America. If I walk in there and say, hey, Marlonda is my wife, can I have her money? Guess what they're gonna ask me for?
A death
What's
certificate.
Marlonda's account? Marlonda who?
Mhm. Right.
Y'all, they use account numbers.
They sure do.
Most banks are closed.
Right.
You got to have an account number.
Yes, sir.
So in this letter of last instructions, you must put the
Mhm.
name of the bank,
Yes.
the account number,
Yes.
and who's the payable on
Death.
death.
Mhm.
Y'all, that's a lot to write in a letter.
It sure is.
Isn't that how we cover a lot?
It's a
Chuck?
lot. It's a lot. But Mr. B, when you think about it, it's kind of like packing for a vacation.
Okay,
I think about my suitcase, everything that I'm going to need.
okay,
This is the same thing with the letter of, like, okay, I need this. Write it down.
okay.
If your children, if they have soccer practice every third
You
Tuesday
said
of
that
the
need to be in there?
it needs to be in the letter of last instruction. Because I died, they had a
That's
missed
a
soccer
lot.
practice?
Okay.
No, they can't do that.
Now, how many people you think that listens to Ask Undertaker, that watches Ask Undertaker, actually have a letter of last instruction?
Probably a very few.
Very few.
Very
How
few.
many think that have one that actually sent it to the right person?
Very few.
And this is probably the most important thing you can do. We
Mhm.
said have all these things in order,
Mhm.
but it doesn't do any good to have it in order if no one knows where it
Is.
It's interesting.
Mhm.
We was doing my phones and iPads this morning. You know what they kept asking me? Show me your face. What's your password? What's this? Listen, somebody needs to know your password. Your fingerprint nor your face recognition works when you're dating.
Mm-hmm.
Did
That's
y'all know
right.
that?
That's
I
right.
cannot take a phone and put it up against a sleep person and it opens it.
Not at all. It
I
don't
had
work.
the police, the detectives walk in with me, the homicide detectives. We took the deceased person finger and pushed it up against the phone, nothing happened. It don't work.
Mm.
You can put a phone up against a deceased person's face, it will not open.
Wow.
If you don't give us the password before you die, we're not getting in it. Check this
Mhm.
out. Ask Apple for it and see what happens.
They won't give it to you.
Just try it.
They won't give it to you.
Call Apple. Y'all, the FBI called Apple and said, listen, these people came and shot up all these folks. Tell us their password so we can go check it. The FBI asked Apple. Apple told them, no.
Nope, won't do it.
You think they're going to tell you?
Absolutely
You better
not.
put that in a letter of last instructions to your family.
Absolutely.
I can't even tell folks you died because all your contacts is in your phone.
Right.
Everybody I know, everybody you know is in our
Phones,
and we
everything.
need the
Password. We need the
If nothing
password.
else. Got to give them passwords.
We have to.
Emails,
Yes, sir.
to our phones, to all these
The safe,
devices.
yes.
The combination to
Yes.
the safe.
Mhm.
We can't say enough.
Where are the keys to the safe deposit box?
Safe deposit box. Oh my
Yes.
God, who even know we had one?
Yes.
What if something happens to you and your spouse
Together.
I mean, you got all this stuff in the safe deposit box. We
Yes,
don't
sir.
even, who knows that there's a safe deposit box? Most people keep those very secret.
Very
I
much
just
so.
tell y'all a little trick right quick. I don't know if most people know this. You know you're not supposed to put money in a safe deposit box? Did y'all know that's illegal? Okay, that's another show.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
Y'all been watching too much Power.
Yeah.
Y'all been watching too much television. Y'all money's supposed to be in a bank account,
Correct.
not in a safe deposit box. But if you just happen to be doing something illegal right now,
Yep.
can you give us the key? Can you tell us where the key
Is. Yeah.
Just keep teaching, Mr. Beckwith.
Yeah.
I will.
Yeah.
Here we go. Here we go.
Very
All right,
good.
what else has been in that letter?
You know what? I think, in the letter of last instructions, again, what do you want? What to do with my clothes?
Okay.
Because
that's hard.
It is.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that's so
but
hard.
there are a
Thank
lot
you
of
for
people that are connected to charities and nonprofit organizations.
Okay.
So if people
So
always,
give my clothes to a charity or give it to my family?
that's up to me. So I would say, hey, let them decide, and then whatever
Let
else,
the family decide
let the
first, then I go
family.
through
Sure,
Okay.
sure, and then whatever
jewelry.
yeah.
Because I don't know if the spouse really wants your necklace or your bangles or do
Right,
you really even want those things?
right.
So yeah, please be very detailed on which. And listen,
Yeah.
that don't have to go in the last will and testament
It doesn't, but
unless it's valuable.
exactly. But then I would also say for someone like you, you always say, I don't know where Jackie put my clothes in the
I
cleaners.
know.
So that's going to be important. So, if Miss Jackie, please let Mr. B know where the cleaners is and how to make a sandwich, because he already said he can't cook. You are the cook in the family.
I can't cook, I can't barbecue, I don't grill.
See, so somebody's got to leave a letter of instructions on you for how to, put some ramen noodles or something. in the
You know how
microwave.
important that is.
Yeah, but
So
that's
it's gonna be
kind of
important that we're able to find the clothes. At
Yes.
least know what cleaners to go
two.
to
Yeah.
get the clothes out
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, and then where are the keys at? All the cars, all the cars. Where are the keys so that we know how to move the cars and, just all everyday stuff that we do. We just need it in the last letter of instructions. Very important.
How important is it? And I we get ready to end, but I want to end on this note right here. Is that we talk about this right of disposition. It doesn't have to be an issue. And listen, you don't even have to show it to the funeral director. Let's hope an argument never happens. Let's just hope you never have to
Yes, sir.
deal with this situation ever again.
Yes.
But if it does come up, let's make sure it is actually in place. So, I'm going to end a little early today.
Okay.
Allow others to use this live streaming device for
Absolutely.
our live stream funerals on today. So have a nice Evan. Thank you so much for listening to us another Saturday morning from 10 to 11 o'clock a.m.
Yes.
Every
Every
for the
Saturday.
last 15 years. Thank you, Facebook. Thank you, Instagram. Thank you, everybody that's a part of the show. May God bless you and may God keep you is our prayer.